Only 3 game weeks left, people. Can you believe it? The season is just flying by. I'm getting a little bit sad, but it's almost come to an end. Welcome back to the channel. This is FPL of the day. I am Jay London, and in this one, we're talking free hits for the double game week 36. So I know a lot of people are going to be doing that in game week 36. I haven't got any free hits left. So if you haven't either, don't worry. This is going to help with transfers and all of that stuff as well. I'm also going to have a nice little look at the bust team for game week 36 and show you guys how I'm doing. Spoiler alert, I'm not doing too bad. So this is why I'm not ashamed to show you. Before we do that and before we dive in, as always, I want to thank you for helping me along my journey. We are almost at 1,500 subscribers. If you're just discovering this channel for the first time and you're just seeing my big head for the first time, please do hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,500 subscribers before the end of the season. Once you've done that, let's dive in. Only 3 videos left before the end of the season. This is the ultimate free hit draft for game week 36. Okay, so as I say, it's all about the free hit in this one. Even if you're not using your free hit or you haven't got any free hits left, this is still going to help because we're going to be going through a lot of players that we need to consider going into game week 36. I know a lot of people are going to be bench boosting as well, which is what I'm doing, and that's why I need to show you my team at the end of the video. So before we begin, always caveats, yeah, always caveats. I'm recording this before the end of game week 35. In fact, a little bit earlier than usual as well, because I'm currently in Manchester. So if anything has happened, I will update it down in the comments below. And obviously keep an eye out for like injuries, postponements, or people that are scoring 5 or 6 or 10 goals as well, because obviously that's going to change a little bit of a knee-jerky decision, right? So let's just dive straight in. Let's just get straight into it. First and foremost, we're going to have a look at the fixtures so you guys can see exactly what we are targeting for game week 36. So as you know, loads of teams are going to be doubling. The ones that I want to be targeting are like Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, Tottenham, maybe. Liverpool and Arsenal could be quite tough. But then again, if we're going for like Tottenham attackers, that could be some nice fixtures for them. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. Arsenal, of course, have got a double. Norwich has got a double. So has Aston Villa. So a lot of teams to target in this. So obviously this free hit is only going to be made up of 11 players that are going to be doubling for game week 36. Otherwise, what is the point of even playing your free hit this week? Like, obviously you want to have 11 playing doubles, right? So yeah, soak that in. Those are going to be the fixtures, and let's just get straight to it. Let's start with the boys that are going to be on the bench. I'm going to make it nice and cheap and nice and affordable, just like this. Foster's in there, so is Gordon, so is Tsimikas, and so is Amati. Now, I wanted to make a free hit draft that everybody can afford. So if you've got like a ridiculous team value, yeah, if you've got like Elon Musk team value, then of course you can upgrade some of these guys. Like Amati can become like one of the fullbacks from Leicester. You can get a Matty Cash in there. Spoiler alert, he's not going to be in the team. So yeah, Tsimikas is nice and cheap. It also covers any of that like Liverpool rotation in the defence there for Trent or Robertson. And Gordon, yeah, again, a nice cheap player who I actually couldn't get into the midfield, but I wouldn't begrudge anyone who's looking to play Gordon. He's a nice enabler too. So yeah, this is what the bench looks like. As I say, nice and cheap, nice and affordable, and it allows us to pick the players that we are about to talk about. Let's start with a goalkeeper who is going to continue to be Kasper Schmeichel. Poof! Here he is. I've gone for him because if you go through the teams and you go through the keepers that are going to be doubling, there's usually like one hard fixture in there and an easy fixture in there. So it tends to be that kind of pattern. But with Schmeichel, you've got Everton and Norwich, who pretty much just speak for themselves. Like Everton, anything could happen there in terms of clean sheets, or Leicester could completely blow them away, or Everton could struggle to score. Who knows what's going to happen? But Norwich, I'm hoping that Schmeichel is going to get a clean sheet there. So one of the games is pretty much certain. And then Everton, I think there's more chance of Schmeichel keeping a clean sheet there than, say, Martinez, who's got to play Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Let's not talk about it anymore. Kasper Schmeichel is in goal. And let's move on to the defence. Free man, which looks something like this. Nice, very nice. So Cancelo is obviously in there now that Manchester City fixture has been confirmed. We've got Newcastle and Wolves, nice little double there. Alonso is going to be playing Wolves and Leeds, and then we've got Robertson, who's got Tottenham and Villa. So yeah, I really do like the look of Robertson. we've seen how he's performed in the last few games, and he's pretty much been just firing on all cylinders. If he's not been scoring a goal, he's been keeping a clean sheet or hitting up those assists. So just for the little bit of a price cut, I don't think there's much difference between him and Trent. So I currently do favour Robertson over Trent just because of the price. If there was both the same price, I would probably put Trent in there. But yeah, I feel like Robertson is just capable of doing the same. And yeah, of late, he's been doing great. So yeah, why change it? Cancelo is Cancelo. We don't need to talk about him too much. He's playing for Manchester City, who is still chasing that title and making sure that they need to win every single game. So yeah, playing against teams like Newcastle and Wolves, we can only hope that Cancelo starts. And if he starts both of those games, there's nothing to say that a clean sheet isn't on the cards there for both of those, and maybe like a cheeky assist. Who knows what could happen, yeah? And then Alonso, there's been a lot of talk about Chilwell. As I say, at the time of recording, Chilwell is still not back yet. So if that has changed, then obviously that's something to consider whilst watching this video. But Alonso still seems to be the person that is going to be nailed because they don't have that much of a replacement for him on that side. We know that Reece James is back now. And it looks like Alonso could be the person to keep his place in those two fixtures. There's going to be a lot of rotation risk for Chelsea, and we know that 100%. But we need to get at least one of the defenders in there. Alonso is probably the cheapest that we can bet is going to be starting, and he just loves to attack. I'm not expecting too much defensive work from Alonso, but that's not what we want. That's not what we want for our FPL teams. We want players that are playing in defence, that has got a possibility of keeping a clean sheet and like to go forward. So that is why Alonso is in the team. So far, so good. I don't think anyone's really going to argue with this so far, all right? We've got Kasper Schmeichel in goal, Robertson, Cancelo and Alonso. This is where it gets a little bit controversial. Let's have a look at the midfield that looks something like this. Boof. My boy Bukayo Saka's in there. In the middle, we have Mohamed Salah and Kevin De Bruyne, and then Coutinho makes up that four-man midfield. Now you can see why there's no room for Gordon. You'll see even further when we get to the strikers. Right, let's talk through them. Saka's probably got the hardest two fixtures out of the four players. So he could be a Mason Mount or a Kulusevski or a Maddison if you want to go down that route instead, depending on your team value. Okay, we're going to talk about differential players at the end of the video. But I just feel like Saka is probably the most nailed out of those players that I've just named, apart from Kulusevski. But Tottenham's fixtures do also look pretty tricky, which is why I haven't got any Tottenham midfielders in here. If you'd rather go for someone like Son, I'll talk about him in just a bit. But Bukayo Saka is just on fire. Like, I took him out of my team in my wildcard draft, and I regretted it immediately after the early kickoff. And I'm not going to forget that. He scored a penalty. He was all over that game. He got an assist as well. And playing against Leeds, I want Saka in my team. Yeah, so that's that. As I say, we'll do a little differential draft at the end. If you want to go for someone like Kulusevski or Barnes or Maddison or something like that, they can easily go in instead of Saka. Salah is Salah. I'm not even going to talk about him. Just make sure Salah is in your team. If you fancy a bit of a punt, then you might want to go for someone like Mane instead, but I'm not going to be doing that. Mohamed Salah needs to be in the team. And next to him is the one that I'm quite excited about, because there's loads of people who are not playing their free hit that can only dream about having these two in the middle. Kevin De Bruyne next to Mohamed Salah. So a lot of people are thinking about ripping their teams apart and getting in De Bruyne. But if you're playing your free hit, this is a great chance to just get him in straight away. And yeah, look at him. Look at those fixtures. Newcastle and Wolves. He's probably the most nailed midfielder out of all of the Man City players. Of course, we could be looking at Foden as well. So if you fancy a little bit of a cheeky risk there, then of course you could be saving a lot of money, and Foden could do just as well as De Bruyne. But this excites me. It excites me to have both Salah and De Bruyne in this free hit draft. And then to complete it and to finish it off is Philippe Coutinho. So there's been a lot of chat. There's been a lot of chat about Coutinho. And if you haven't seen my transfer video that I did last week for Game Week 35 and the rest of the season, make sure you go and check that out. But Coutinho is one of the players in there, and that is because of the double-double. So that Burnley fixture, I really do obviously like the look of that. And yeah, he's going back to Liverpool to play at home. he's going to be up for that game. And we know how attacking Liverpool are. So that could leave a little bit of space and a little bit of love for Coutinho. So the more I'm talking about it, the more that I want him in my own team, which we'll get to at the end of the video. But yeah, I know a lot of people are doubting him because he hasn't done much in like the last 6 or 7 game weeks. That's fine. But what I've learned this season is to not attack the games that was previous and to attack the games that are in front of us. Attack the fixtures that are ahead, not the ones that are in the past. And Burnley and Liverpool and then another double in 37 means that he might be a player that we're transferring in 37 as well. But yeah, let's concentrate on the free hit. That's what the team is looking like for now. And let's finish it off. Let's round it off with the strikers that are going to be... There's 3 of them. You can see it. It's going to be this. Boom. Some more controversy here. Yes. Some more controversy here. Pookie's probably the only one that a lot of people aren't going to argue with. And that is because it's Pookie. Come on. He's having a party. He's playing against West Ham and Leicester. And he's nice and cheap. So yeah, loads of people, especially those of us that are going to be using our bench boost, is going to have him in our team. All right. Either side of him, we've got Watkins and we've got Richarlison. 2 players that are going to be very controversial, that have been very controversial on FPL Twitter and in the FPL community. Richarlison, because we know what Richarlison is like. He's always getting booked. He's a frustrating player. He's been a troll for a long while. But, look at the fixtures. Remember what we said. We're attacking the games in front of us. Leicester and Watford are 2 teams that we need to target if we're talking about the defence. And I know some of you are going to be like, oh, well, why have you got Kasper Schmeichel in goal? I'm not that type of manager. I just like to pick the best players and hope for the best outcome. So yeah, if you do want to put a different goalkeeper in because you've got someone like Richarlison, then go ahead and do that. But I still fancy Kasper Schmeichel. And then I'm kind of balancing the best of both worlds. So if Richarlison does score against Leicester, then I'm not going to be too happy. And if there's a 0-0 there, then... So if Richarlison does score, then we're covered. If Kasper Schmeichel manages to keep a clean sheet, then we're going to be laughing either way. But I'm a manager that just likes to get the best players on the pitch. So I'm not too worried the fact that I've got Richarlison playing against Schmeichel. If you are one of those managers that don't like to have defenders against strikers that are in your own team, then fair enough. Put in somebody else. The fact is, all these teams are playing each other anyway. So it's going to be quite tricky to get a goalkeeper in that doesn't have one of your attackers' fixtures in the double, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm going to go with Richarlison. He's going to be in the free hit team. And I'm going to put my faith in him because of those fixtures against Leicester and Watford. I could live to regret this, but you know when you just get a feeling? I've got a feeling. And I've got a feeling that Richarlison needs to be in our teams for game week 36. I'm going to try and see how I can get him in my own team for game week 36 as well, because I do want him, which again, we will talk through at the end of the video. And yeah, last but not least, we've got Ollie Watkins there. Again, I know it's going to be a big talking point because Aston Villa haven't been amazing going into the last few fixtures and the last games that they have played. They've not really done much, but again, I am attacking the fixtures that are ahead. I like the look of that Burnley fixture. Ollie Watkins, I believe, is on penalties at the start, at the time of recording, because he did take the last one, I think. And yeah, when we're looking at strikers, there aren't that many to choose from. I mean, yeah, we can talk about Gabriel Jesus. If you want to put him in instead, I'm going to get him in on a differential draft as well. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But for me, this is going to be the ultimate free hit for game week 36. 11 players that are all going to be doubling. They've all got some nice fixtures. The only thing that I am worried about is I haven't got any Spurs players in here, but I feel like Spurs have probably got the hardest double of the lot out of all of these guys. Leicester are, of course, another team that we could target. With that in mind, let's just go straight in with the differential draft, and let me show you guys what we could be doing if you want to go for like a cheeky little punt. Woof. We could have something like this. This time I've gone for Martinez in goal. The defence pretty much stays the same. Matty Cash is in there because a lot of people are going for Matty Cash, and I do believe that he could be a good asset. But yeah, if I'm going for like template and the defenders that I feel will be scoring the most points, then they're going to be the guys that we just spoke about in the ultimate draft. And then look at the midfield. There's loads of punts in here. We've got Mount, who is a bit of a differential and a bit of a punt, because we know that that Chelsea rotation is going to be quite tricky. That could easily be a Maddison or a Barnes if you fancy someone like that. Luis Diaz, we've spoken about quite a lot. He was also in my transfer video. If you haven't seen that yet, go and check that out. It was the last one that we released. Kulusevski, is in there to cover that Spurs double, and because he's nice and cheap. So yeah, Liverpool and Arsenal, there is a possibility that players like Son could be getting quite a lot of space in those fixtures, and I do really appreciate that logic. But I'm just looking at all the other teams and all the other midfielders, and I think I do favour them just slightly more ahead of Son and ahead of the other Spurs, the Spurs collective. And then we've got Raheem Sterling there, which again, if we had a crystal ball, a crystal pet ball, and we knew that Sterling was going to be playing both of those games, we'd chuck the captain on him. Yeah, we'd chuck the armband on him, and we'd know that he could completely destroy teams like Newcastle and Wolves. But yeah, for a cheeky punt and a cheeky differential, I really do like the look of Raheem Sterling. Jesus is in there strictly because a couple of game weeks ago he scored 5 goals in 2 games. No one's going to forget that. And yeah, it's just a matter again of Pep Roulette. Is he going to be playing? Is he not? Lookman could be a nice little cheeky punt, and he's nice and cheap as well. So yeah, Everton and Norwich, again, 2 fixtures that I really do like the look of. And we don't know what the rotation is going to be like for Barnes and Maddison. Maybe Lookman is more nailed than those 2 guys. Who knows? And last but not least, up front, you're probably thinking, what's going on here? We've got Jamie Vardy. So I've put him in a differential team because we're going to be keeping a close eye on Jamie Vardy. Because if he is fit, he could be the ultimate differential. For all the other teams that are playing, Jamie Vardy against an Everton defence and a Norwich City defence could be chaos. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And if he is fit, then of course he could be in the team. Loads of people still talking about Nketiah. He's on the bench. Tavares looks like the most attacking kind of Arsenal defender at the moment. Tsimikas because he's cheap. And Tim Krul, again, another little differential keeper if you fancy some of that. So there you go. There's some differential players. I know you like a nice juicy differential at the end of the video. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if you're going to be going for any of these guys that we've mentioned, and are you brave enough to put in someone like Raheem Sterling and then put the captain armband on him? Whew, it's going to be risky stuff. So that's it for the ultimate free hit guide. Just before we go and before I sign out, I want to show you my team for game week 36. I use my wild card in game week 34, and I'm planning to press the bench boost button for game week 36, and I'm pretty excited about this. So I can't really have 2 transfers because I rolled last week. My team is currently set up like this, like you can see: Robertson, Cancelo, Alonso, Salah, Son, Havertz and Mount. Still got the Chelsea boys in there: Watkins, Pukki, Nketiah, Ramsey, White, Amati and Foster on the bench. So the danger at the time of recording is players like Amati and Nketiah. I don't know how much rotation they're going to have. And the whole point of me doing this in game week 34 and playing my wildcard was to enable me to have 15 double game week players for my bench boost in 36. So those 2 are probably going to be the 2 that I'm worried about most. But I can't help but really be tempted into doing something that I've spotted, which is a route into Kevin De Bruyne. So I just spoke about this move, and I spoke about the joys and the delight and the fear that it would spark into other FPL managers of having a team with Salah and De Bruyne in the middle of my midfield. And there is a way that I can get there. If I take out Son and put in Kevin De Bruyne, that's going to leave me with 1 mil to make up. And then I could easily drop one of the Chelsea boys, which could be Mason Mount or Havertz. Let's say it's Havertz, for example, yeah? Let's say I take out Havertz. That leaves me with 6.9 mil in the bank at the time of recording. That could easily then be a Kulusevski or a Saka. So then my team would then look something like this. Very, very tasty indeed. I'm a little bit stuck though, because I do want Richarlison. You've just heard me speak about him. I do want Coutinho as well. And like you've seen in my transfer video that I did for game week 35 and beyond, those are 2 players that I've been quite excited about for a little while. But just a temptation to get in someone like Kevin De Bruyne, I don't know if I can ignore that. The other problem that this does leave me with is obviously I wanted to try and fix the Amati problem, because I don't feel like he's going to be playing both of those games. So I wanted to take him out for maybe like a Matty Cash or a defender that's going to be playing 2 games. And then once I do that Son move, then that doesn't allow me to do that unless I'm taking a hit. And I don't know if I want to take a hit, because that wasn't the point of using this wild card in game week 34. The other option is I take out one of the Chelsea boys and put in someone like Foden, but again, that doesn't leave me with much money in the bank, so I don't know if I'm going to be doing that. Or we could drop Son again, put in someone like Foden, and that leaves me with loads of cash to upgrade like that Nketiah position for someone like Richarlison, or even Coutinho. Like I could go Son to Coutinho and then put in Richarlison for Nketiah as well. But let me know what you're saying down in the comments below, because at the moment I'm leaning towards the Kevin De Bruyne move. Maybe that is what I'll do. I'll keep you updated on the Twitter, or right here on YouTube as well, maybe down in the comments, and let you know what I'm doing. But let me know what you're doing, all right? Let me know what you're doing for Game Week 36, and let's try and help each other out to some more green arrows before the end of the season. So there we go. There we have it. That is the ultimate free hit guide, or just the ultimate guide for Game Week 36 in general. We covered the free hit draft, and we covered the bench boost as well, all right? Also did a little team selection, some differential. What more do you need? What more do you need? As always, if you're just discovering this video for the first time, please do subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,500 subscribers before the end of the season. Let me know what you're doing down in the comments. Leave a little like, and hopefully I will see you on the next one where there are only 2 game weeks left. Good luck.